Week 9, waiver wire. These players can save your season. But before I get into it, welcome to the playlist. Thank you for kicking it. I am Jimsy, and this is Fantasy on Repeat. Again, this is the waiver wire episode where you can start fixing your team and start heading for that playoff push. So let's get straight into it. The first player I'm going to talk about is Tyrone Tracy Jr. He's rostered at 30%. He immediately stepped into a full-time role. He completely overtook Singletary. He outcarried him 10 carries to 2. He out-targeted him 2 to 1. And he handled 28 of the 36 offensive snaps. Week 8 against the Eagles, he had 10 carries for 39 yards, 3 targets for 2 receptions, and 14 yards, giving you 7.3 PPR fantasy points. He is a dual threat type of back. Last year in 2024, he had 1,123 scrimmage yards, 839 rushing yards at a 4.37 yards per carry clip. He had 53 targets. That was an extra 284 yards. Tyrone Tracy was running back 14 from weeks 5 to 17, and within that window, he was averaging at least 14 fantasy points. He got that 7 times. And let's not forget that Tyrone Tracy was the running back 1 for this squad before he injured his shoulder, and that gave the window for Cam Scatterwood to come in and take over. But we all know what happened, man. Like I said, rest up, Cam. But Cam Scatterwood, he was averaging at least 4 targets a game, and those are just going to be easy fantasy points that are going to be handed to Tyrone Tracy now. This is an entirely different Giants team now with Dart at the helm. The Giants' points per game average skyrocketed from 15.6 in 2024 to 21.9 in 2025. Opportunity is king in fantasy football, and Scatterwood, he was getting fed. I'm not saying Tyrone Tracy is going to run like Scatterwood, but this entire team will fight in his spirit. The season outlook for Tyrone Tracy now is that he's guaranteed a high workload that provides solid weekly floor. And now the ceiling, as I mentioned, he is a pass catching back on an improved offense. He can offer RB2 upside. The next running back on the list, we're going to go with Zonovan Bam Knight. He's rostered at 28%, and he low-key is the lead running back. He dominated the usage in week 7 before the bye. He had 14 carries, 57 yards, 4 targets, and 3 receptions, 7 yards, giving you a solid 9.4 PPR fantasy points. And Michael Carter has been released from this team. That furthermore solidifies what Bam Knight means to this team. He's going to be the lead rusher. Now taking on the Cowboys in week 9. The Cowboys are ranked 30th in points allowed per game, and they give up the 3rd most fantasy points to running backs, and that's just easy money for Bam Knight to succeed. Cowboys are the 4th worst run defense in the NFL, and they struggle to generate pressure. And I wonder why, right? But the Cowboys, when you play them, that's just a get-right game. He's currently the running back 1 for the Cardinals, and should be fun to watch. The next running back on my list is going to be Isaiah Davis. He's rostered at 9%, but he is a part of the sneaky sleepers and the hidden gems who had a solid performance in week 8 against the Bengals. He had 7 carries, 65 yards, 5 targets, 5 receptions for 44 yards, giving you 17.9 PPR fantasy points. And the wild part is he out-targeted Breece Hall 5-3. 2 key reasons to scoop up Isaiah Davis. First is he has a breakaway potential. He broke off a career-long 50-yarder that shows the explosiveness and the ability to create big plays when given the opportunities. Second, his red zone usage. He caught a key 2-point conversion in the 4th, implying his potential involvement near the goal line. So the season outlook for Isaiah Davis, he can easily slide into the RB1 if Breece Hall is traded. If not, he still is the clear RB2. His rookie season was efficient. He had 5.8 yards per carry on 30 rushes. The opportunities will continue to rise for Isaiah Davis. The next running back on the list is going to be Tyjae Spears. He's rostered at 46%, and he had the best outing of the season against the Colts defense. He had 9 carries, 59 yards, and 1 touchdown, adding 3 targets, 3 receptions for 23 yards, giving you 17.2 PPR fantasy points. Efficiency over everything. Tyjae Spears has outproduced Pollard 2 of the last 3 games, while also outsnapping him in week 8. The explosiveness is there, and the state of the Titans right now, they're 1-7, and they're going through some changes, right? What if they possibly trade away Tony Pollard? That's an automatic RB1 that has juice, and if any improvements happen on this offense, that can be season-long upside. So my last running back on the list is going to be Bhayshul Tuten. He's rostered at 26%, and depending on your situation, maybe you're sitting pretty, looking for a great speculative late-season boomer. Well, Bhayshul Tuten does have explosive speed. He has a 4.32 40-yard dash. He shows his elusiveness, and he can be an instant RB2 plus. Let's say here if ETN were ever to miss some time, or if he were to slow down, which we know does happen with Travis Etienne. Let's look at the potential season outlook for Bhayshul Tuten, and let's have a flashback here, okay? Because the new Jags OC, Liam Cohen, he has a history of maximizing explosive and elusive backs. In example, 2024, Bucky Irving with the Bucks after the bye, he averaged 17.99 PPR fantasy points. And let's not forget the signs of positivity here. Tank Bigsby was traded away. The coaching staff drafted Tuten. ETN's efficiency is never consistent. If at any time it dips, this means increased touches for this explosive back. Through 7 weeks, his snap percentage is at 20%, and his highest was before the bye at 29%. If we can see an increase to 35, 40, 45, 50%, we might be onto something. So just keep your eye out on Bhayshul Tuten. Now going to the wide receiver position, we're going to talk about Troy Franklin, who's rostered at 33%. He did have a breakout performance, and he's had a connection with Bo Nix. And he hasn't been consistent, but his recent target share and his bump in usage points to elite fantasy upside. In the blowout win against the Cowboys, he had 6 receptions for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns, giving you 26.9 PPR fantasy points. Wide receiver 1 on the week. He had a team leading 8 targets, and Franklin had a 27.5% target share and 30% of the team's total targets. 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. These numbers mean he is very important to this offensive game plan. And Bo Nix and Franklin, this college chemistry is continuing. And if you need 3 more reasons why to cop Troy Franklin, I got you. First off, he is a deep threat potential. He's always top dog in the league for deep threat targets. He's demonstrating the ability to create explosive plays downfield, and he's coming up with them. Second, he is a red zone threat. He is ranked 4th in the league in red zone targets. He is trusted to get touchdowns in this offense that is evolving. And that's the third one. They are blowing up in points. A 33 fourth quarter comeback against the Giants, 44-point blowout against the Cowboys. This offense is designed to get playmakers like Troy Franklin going, and he's going to get these high volume targets, and it's just immediate upside. He's elite wide receiver 2 potential. The next wide receiver on the list is going to be Christian Watson, who is rostered at 15%, and I did mention him in my mustache video, but if you didn't jump on him then, it's your opportunity to jump on him now. With Christian Watson, the big play production is back. First game back against the Steelers, he went 4 for 4, 85 yards, giving you 12.5 PPR fantasy points. He caught a 33-yard deep ball, and he came back from ACL like nothing. He was activated and immediately in line to get that work. He came back in line from the ACL like it was nothing. He was activated and immediately they played him. He did play on only 56% of the snaps, but he was a part of 65% of Love's dropbacks. That deep threat and that big play potential has always been Watson's role, and he solidified himself again when he came back. Even on a snap count, he led all the Packers wide receiver in yardage. It's wheels up when he's at full speed. I always seen him as a boom bust player, but it is a crowded wide receiver room as well. But he has the ability to win downfield and make these big plays, and that just provides massive upside, and it also gives you high reward. The next wide receiver on the list is going to be Chimere Dike. He's rostered at 19%. He's emerging as the wide receiver 1 for this squad, and this squad is a high volume target Titans offense. And what really out for the past 2 weeks, Dike has delivered. Week 7, he has 4 receptions for 70 yards, 1 touchdown against the Patriots. Week 8, he went back-to-back elite performance. He had 7 more receptions for 93 yards against the Colts, giving you 16.4 PPR fantasy points. And that's good enough for him to be back-to-back leading receivers for this team. And since taking over, Dike's snap share has skyrocketed. He's at 89%, which confirms he is a primary option through the air. And he's been showing out, reassuring that he can take on a bigger workload. And as I stated before with Tyjae Spears, if they let go of these vets, he's going to be permanently locked into this high volume role. And where does this high volume come from? It's negative game script, meaning that the Titans play from behind a lot. And if this rookie to rookie connection continues to grow, it's a win-win situation all around. The next wide receiver on the list is going to be Xavier Hutchinson, who's rostered at 8%, and another usage bump due to injuries, and opportunity is always king in fantasy football. In week 8, he stepped up. He had 5 receptions and a team high of 69 yards. Nice. Also a touchdown, which provided him 17.9 full PPR fantasy points. Although it feels very dependent on healthy receivers, his role is expanding, proven to be a great red zone threat for CJ Stroud. He's got 3 touchdowns on the season, and week 9 is going to be a torture against the Broncos D, but he's still commanding at least 3 targets a game. It's worth an add if this completely sticks. And the last wide receiver on the list is going to be Tory Horton at 8%. Maybe this can be a post-bye rookie bump candidate. And since he is coming off a bye, we'll just talk about the upside here because he has elite athleticism. He's at a 4.4 140-yard dash. He has elite explosiveness and offseason buzz and hype. It could be on display now. And he's just a dope route runner. He finds open space and makes moves. He scored 3 touchdowns on low output, and he has shown he can provide solid back-to-back performances. At any point in the season that we see his snap share continue to rise, you got to be on top of these players like this, because best case scenario is this offense philosophy just completely shifts and boom weeks become more steady. For now, yes, he is a deep league stash, but when his opportunities increase, again, it's an excellent long-term lottery ticket right here. Next up, we'll talk about the tight end position. I'm going to start off with Juwan Johnson at 36%. He's had back-to-back productive fantasy weeks. Week 7 against the Bears, he had 5 receptions, 79 yards, giving you 12.9 PPR fantasy points. Week 8 against the Bucks, he had 5 receptions, 53 yards, and 10.3 PPR fantasy points. And the upside is this team is also throwing a lot. He's third in targets for tight ends. He's behind Trey McBride and Jake Ferguson. And the team is getting banged up. He's going to have an uptick in usage. And he does have a reliable volume-based floor, which makes him solid. Juwan Johnson started off this year coming out hot. Now the production is starting to decrease, but we can see a boom again in production, and his fantasy points will come along with that. The next tight end on the list can be Colston Loveland, rostered at 25%. He also does have an increased role due to injury. Cole Kmet, he hurt his back. But once that happened, Loveland saw 80% of the offensive snaps in week 8. Loveland also saw 11.7% target share along with 5 targets. He is featured in the passing attack, and when given the opportunities, he is a fantastic streaming option for week 9. And going up against the Bengals, who are weak against tight ends, through 8 weeks, the Bengals given up more fantasy points to tight ends than any other team. They let Mason Taylor pop off, which is a perfect segue for me to talk about him because he is my next pickup. Like I said, the last tight end on the list is going to be Mason Taylor, who is rostered at 33%. Even if he has a bye week, he is worth picking up. He secured his role in this evolving offense and the potential to be a high volume tight end. He caught his first career touchdown from Breece Hall of all people. And once that touchdown seal is broken, they start to come in bunches. And week 8, as I mentioned, against the Bengals, he had 8 targets, 5 receptions, 34 yards, and 1 touchdown, giving himself 14.4 PPR fantasy points. And the last 6 games, he's seen 5 targets or more in 5 games. That means that is consistent usage right there. He is the clear tight end 1 on this Jets offense and injury-riddled receiving core. Taylor is ranked 7th in targets share among tight ends at 18.7%. This is a rookie tight end who is still developing. His usage plus production suggests long-term upside. He can only get better from here. He is lowly rostered plus a bye week. He will definitely be slept on this week, but he has the potential to be a difference maker the second half of the season. Now going to my quarterback position, I'm going to talk about Kyler Murray, who's rostered at 55%. He is the clear starter for this team. Coach speak, reassuring that it's K1 all day. And I talk bad enough about my Cowboys, but this is a get-right game in all aspects. Last week, they gave up 44 points to the Broncos. And now 3 weeks out from a mid-foot sprain, he should be ready to go. Kyler Murray has been a dual threat this season. Even with his reduced production in the air, his legs give him a higher fantasy floor and ceiling than most quarterbacks. Mobile quarterbacks are like a fantasy cheat code. And Murray, he's averaging 34.6 rushing yards per game, and that even decreased from his 2024 mark by 7.3 yards per game. All 4 of his starts has resulted in at least 30 rushing yards, and now with his offensive weapons settling in, this is a prime bounce back spot in week 9. The next quarterback on the list is going to be Trevor Lawrence. He's rostered at 32%, and he's also coming freshly off the bye. Post-bye rookie bump. We shall see if this connection between Lawrence and Hunter is real. 3 games before the bye, Lawrence was averaging 17 plus fantasy points per game, and if he can find rhythm now, they've been sneaky good. They're above 500. So now taking on the Raiders, who use zone coverage at the 5th highest rate in the league, is where Lawrence can find success. He is effective against zone coverage at 76.4 catchable rate, then against man coverage at 62.2%. The Raiders surrendered the 7th most yards per downfield target, which lines up well with Trevor Lawrence's ability to accurately throw on intermediate shots, the 10 to 19 yards. And this can be a solid outing from Trevor Lawrence in week 9. The last quarterback on my list is going to be JJ McCarthy. He's rostered at 22%. He's set to return in week 9 after suffering an ankle injury, and the Vikings have no other choice. Wentz is out for the season. He underwent surgery on his shoulder. The positive note here for JJ McCarthy is that he is surrounded by elite talent. As I mentioned, Justin Jefferson as my must-buy, Jordan Addison as a must-start. They've been producing with mediocre QB play. And the one full game sample size we got with JJ McCarthy in week 1, he had 143 yards, 2 touchdowns, 25 rushing yards, and another touchdown on the ground, giving you 23.22 fantasy points. Yes, he was a late bloomer, but it does show he belongs. And now taking the Lions in week 9, who averaged 30 points per game, makes it a very high-scoring environment and a very pass-heavy script, giving McCarthy ample opportunity to produce. Now going into the kicker position, I'm going to talk about Matt Prater, who is rostered at 40%. He is a reliable kicker on a high-scoring Bills offense. Tyler Bass is still not set to return, leaving Prater as their main guy. First game out the bye, scoring double-digit fantasy points. He went 4 for 5 on extra points, 2 for 2 on field goals, long being 45 yards, getting you 11 fantasy points. And taking on the Chiefs in week 9, having the 3rd highest over-under at 51.5, kicking would be utilized heavily on this elite AFC matchup. The next kicker on the list can be Michael Badgley at 56% rostered. He is highly reliable and efficient offense. He's kicked 12 of 13 extra points. Week 8 against the Titans, he went 5 for 5 on extra points, converting all 3 field goal attempts at an 82.8 clip. Now they'll be playing a home game inside of a dome without any weather restrictions, taking on the Steelers, who just let Brandon McManus get 7 fantasy points on a busted leg, who I'm going to talk about next. This is my last kicker on the list. It's going to be Brandon McManus, who's rostered at 10%. And this is another kicker on a high-powered offense, which is always an advantage because when a team can move a ball, that creates opportunities to score points. And the Panthers' defense is not top tier, but still enough to hold Josh Allen to 163 passing yards and 1 touchdown. And if the Packers' run game isn't prepared, this could mean a lot of forced kicks heading towards McManus. He did miss 2 key field goals. He is coming off an injury and is showing rust. If he can regain his composure, I can see him getting a 10-point plus outing. Now switching into the last section here, we're going to talk about the DSTs. I'm going to talk about the Los Angeles Rams, who are rostered at 35%, and they're coming freshly off the bye, and they should be available for pickup unless your league mates held on to them during the bye. Right here, this is an elite defensive line, consistently generating fantasy points across the board. Week 9 hosting the Saints, who are struggling to put it together. Saints only average 16 points per game within the last 2 games, and this Bucs defense just deleted this offense, and the Rams already have forced 10 turnovers in the first 7 games. Before going into their bye, they had produced back-to-back double-digit fantasy outings. They had 19 against the Ravens, and they had 12 against the Jags. They are a top 5 in third down defense, second in red zone defense, and second in the most points allowed per game at 16.7, which, like I said, the Saints are only averaging 16. It sounds like an easy lock to me week 9 against the Saints. The next defense I'm going to talk about is the Detroit Lions, who are rostered at 48%. Another team coming freshly off the bye. And here's another secret to picking up teams in this situation. You no longer have to worry about streaming options because the bye week is done. This is set it and forget it. They do have a favorable matchup against the Vikings. McCarthy, who I did mention earlier, it could be rusty coming off an injury, and he has shown vulnerability. So the Vikings offense have been prone to allowing sacks, giving up the 3rd most in the NFL, and Hutchinson might have a field day. Through 7 games, the Lions have generated plenty of fantasy points, including 23 sacks, ranking them tied for the 5th in the league. And their pass defense is elite as well. They are 3rd in the NFL for defensive success rates on pass plays. They're 8th in the allowed completion percentage, tied for 3rd in the league in takeaways, and 2nd highest rate of plays that go for 0 or negative yards. Lock them in against the Vikings in week 9. The last defense I am going to talk about is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are rostered at 9%, and not again. The bye-apocalypse, man. They're coming off the bye, and it didn't look pretty. It was an outlier for their defense. They had -4 points against the Rams. And yes, they do have pass rush struggles, but they do constantly generate takeaways. This year, they have 5 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, 10 INTs, 1 touchdown. Now taking on the Raiders in week 9, Geno Smith is tied in the league, leading in interceptions despite being on a bye week. With Geno Smith's low success rate and his tendencies to throw picks, this is an ideal matchup for the Jags to eat. And the keynote here is that they have an elite run defense, being best in the league. They're allowing opposing running backs to average fewer than 100 rushing yards per game, as well as a 3.9 yards per carry, and they have not allowed a single runner to exceed 60 yards this season. This is a very favorable matchup against the Raiders in week 9. All right, y'all. Week 8, again, these are players that can save your season. Do not give up. This is the best and the funnest part of fantasy football. Let's get our teams together. And if you need trade targets, I got you in my next video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let's chop it up and let's do our thing. Fantasy on repeat. Jimsy is out. Peace.